Have you ever noticed a really strange paradox when it comes to people who are essentially in the business of changing lives?
Oh, absolutely. You mean coaches, right?
Yeah, exactly. You look at these brilliant, highly trained coaches, they know exactly how to guide leaders through these massive, life-altering transitions.
Right. They have this incredible ability to ask profound questions, the kind that completely unlock a person's confidence.
Exactly. They're absolute experts at their craft. But then you see so many of these exceptionally gifted people just, sitting there staring at an empty calendar.
Struggling to find paying clients. It's a fascinating and honestly deeply frustrating contradiction within the industry.
It really is. They're essentially brilliant but broke.
Yeah, because you have individuals with the capacity to facilitate deep personal and professional transformation. But the moment a conversation shifts from coaching to the actual mechanics of acquiring a client,
All that professional confidence just evaporates.
exactly, they just freeze.
Which means the core issue isn't their coaching ability at all. It's a profound gap in business psychology. And that is exactly what we are unpacking today for you on this deep dive.
We're looking at a text called The Well-Paid Coach V1.5.
And what's so interesting about this source material is that it addresses a massive blind spot. Because historically, no one has actually written a dedicated, comprehensive sales book specifically tailored for the coaching industry.
Which is staggering. I mean, when you consider how large and lucrative the global coaching industry has become, it's huge.
Right. You have thousands of certification programs teaching people how to coach.
But virtually nothing teaching them how to translate that skill into a sustainable business model.
And the author stepping into that void is Dr. Jace Tan. He's a five-figure coach, a corporate trainer with 30 years of hard sales experience.
And he's also the creator of the Identi3 profiling tools, which is really important context.
Yeah, for sure. So our mission for this deep dive is to break down his PNTCO framework. We want to understand exactly why it is so highly effective for coaches.
And more importantly, we are going to look at how he completely shifts the paradigm of selling.
Right, because for a lot of coaches listening to this, selling feels like an awkward, high-pressure pitch that, compromises their values.
But Dr. Tan argues it shouldn't be a pitch at all. It should be an act of true leadership.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
To understand why that shift in perspective is so vital, we first need to look at why traditional sales methods fail coaches so spectacularly.
Yeah. Why can't a coach just use the same sales script as a software vendor or a real estate agent?
Right.
It comes down to a concept Dr. Tan calls the invisible transformation.
Because traditional sales frameworks were built for physical, tangible things. You can demonstrate a physical product. You can hold it in your hand.
You can evaluate its features, put it next to a competitor's product, compare the specs.
You can test drive a car.
Yeah.
But coaching is entirely invisible.
Hmm?
Using product sales tactics to sell coaching is like trying to sell a map to someone by describing the paper it's printed on,
Oh, wow. That's a great way to put it.
rather than describing the actual destination it leads to.
Yep.
Right. You can't put a personal epiphany on a showroom floor.
Exactly. A prospect cannot test drive future clarity. They cannot hold newfound self-worth in their hands.
Right. So what are they actually buying?
What they are actually buying is a hypothetical future version of themselves. And crucially, they are buying you as the guide to help them reach that future.
And because coaches are taught traditional product-based sales tactics, or worse, absolutely no sales framework at all, they inevitably fall into three very specific traps.
Very damaging trap.
Let's break those traps down. Because if you are a coach listening to this, you have almost certainly fallen into at least one of these. The first one he outlines is the hope marketing trap.
Ah, yes. Hope marketing.
This is the act of posting inspirational quotes on social media, going to networking events, handing out business cards, and then just sitting back and hoping someone reaches out to hire you.
Dr. Tan is very blunt here. He says hope is not a strategy.
No, it's not.
Hope marketing is entirely passive. It relies on the prospect to not only realize they have a problem, but to self-diagnose that your specific brand of coaching is the exact solution they need.
And then take the initiative to ask for a contract.
Right. And human psychology simply doesn't work that way. We avoid taking action unless prompted.
Which leads to the second trap, which might actually be the most common one of all. The free coaching trap.
Because the product is invisible, coaches desperately want to prove their value, so they start giving it away.
They offer free hour-long strategy sessions, free deep dives, endless free advice, and direct messages.
But the psychological backfire here is severe. Coaches think they are building goodwill, but they are actually devaluing their own service.
Yeah, the prospect starts to think, well, if I can get all this incredible clarity and emotional relief for free, why would I ever pay thousands of dollars for a package?
Exactly. If you've ever offered a free strategy session just hoping the person would magically sign on at the end, you've likely felt this trap spring shut.
By giving the transformation away up front, you inadvertently make it infinitely harder to charge for it later. It dilutes your positioning.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, that diluted positioning feeds directly into the third trap, the soft conversation trap.
Right, because coaches are fundamentally trained to be empathetic, non-judgmental, and supportive.
Which are the exact traits you want when you are coaching someone through a severe career block or a personal trauma.
Of course. But applying that same therapeutic empathy to the end of a business consultation, it's disastrous.
It translates to the coach saying something like, well, no pressure at all, take your time, think about it, and let me know whenever you're ready.
Which leaves the prospect with absolutely zero urgency. They just drift away.
Yeah, using traditional sales tactics or therapeutic empathy to sell coaching is fundamentally broken.
This is where Dr. Tan had his major breakthrough. Despite his 30 years of corporate sales experience, even he struggled initially when he transitioned to selling his own coaching services.
He realized that selling an invisible service requires mapping out how human beings actually make decisions when they feel vulnerable.
So he concluded that, in the coaching context, conversion isn't a sales skill at all. It is a leadership skill.
Right. A good leader doesn't leave someone stuck in a swamp of indecision.
A good leader helps them see their situation clearly and provides a structured path forward. And that insight is what birthed the PNTCO formula.
PNTCO. It is an acronym that seamlessly guides a prospect's brain through the friction of committing to an invisible transformation.
So let's get into it. The first step, P, stands for pain. But Dr. Tan makes a critical distinction here, right?
He does. He says the obvious problem a client brings to you is rarely the real pain.
He gives a really illuminating example in the source text. Imagine someone comes to a coach stating their goal is to lose weight.
The surface pain is the physical weight gain. But if the coach is just treating the surface, they are acting like a personal trainer, not a coach.
A skilled coach uses open-ended questions to dig deeper. They ask for stories, like, what situations make this feel most difficult for you?
And through that, they discover the real pain isn't the number on the scale. The real pain is that the person feels profoundly unattractive, or they fear their partner is losing interest.
Or their fundamental self-worth is just plummeted.
Exactly. The real pain is almost always tied to emotional identity, usually falling into one of three deep categories: life purpose, relationships, or career.
And identifying that root cause is what separates a truly great coach from a mediocre one.
But knowing they hurt isn't enough to make someone open their wallet. The human brain can ignore vague emotional pain forever.
We tell ourselves, oh, it's just a phase, I'll figure it out next month. If you stop at the P, you hit a wall.
Because of how the brain processes discomfort, we need a cognitive trigger to stop avoiding the issue.
Which brings us to the N in the formula, numbers.
This step is about translating that abstract emotional pain into a concrete, measurable cost.
And this leads heavily on behavioral economics, specifically the concept of loss aversion. We are biologically wired to feel the pain of losing something much more acutely than the joy of gaining something of equal value.
Losing $1,000 stings significantly more than finding $1,000 feels good.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because I have to play devil's advocate. This is where a lot of coaches reading this might bristle.
How so?
Well, if a client is sitting across from you crying because they are going through a failing marriage or feeling completely empty regarding their life's purpose,
Yeah.
asking them, so how much is this costing you financially? It feels completely tone deaf. It feels cold, calculating, and highly likely to completely ruin the trust you just built.
What's fascinating here is that it's actually not cold at all. That is a very valid concern, and it's exactly why the delivery of the number step requires finesse.
Okay.
It isn't about being cold, it's about breaking through cognitive dissonance. Even deeply emotional pain has a tangible structural cost.
So, like, a failing marriage might mean the literal cost of divorce lawyers.
Yes, or having to maintain two households, or the fact that the emotional toll is causing them to miss targets at work, jeopardizing a promotion.
I see. The brain boxes away sadness as something to deal with later.
But it cannot box away, this is costing me $50,000 this year.
Mhm.
It creates the biological urgency required to stop avoiding the problem.
The source material gives a really practical case study to ground this. There is a coach named Cindy and her prospect, Alex.
Right.
Alex is totally paralyzed by indecision. He has a stable corporate job paying $85,000 a year, but he's miserable.
He desperately wants to transition into environmental sustainability work, but he's terrified to make the leap.
Notice the critical rule Dr. Tan emphasizes in this interaction. Cindy does not tell Alex what his indecision is costing him.
No, because if she tells him it's a sales pitch, instead she guides him to calculate the cost himself. This is an act of leadership.
She asks him a targeted question. Alex, if someone with your exact level of experience moved into a leadership role in sustainability today, what income would they command?
Alex thinks about it and realizes the market rate for that role is significantly higher than his current salary.
Right, so she helps him articulate that his fear isn't just an emotional burden keeping him awake at night.
His indecision is tangibly costing him tens of thousands of dollars in lost opportunity and career trajectory every single year he stays stuck.
Suddenly, it is no longer a vague feeling of being unfulfilled. It is an actively compounding multi-thousand-dollar problem.
The stakes become real, and the urgency that the soft conversation trap usually destroys is immediately established.
So now Alex has articulated his deep pain, and he has mathematically calculated the massive cost of staying stuck. You would naturally assume he is completely ready to hand over his credit card.
But Dr. Tan warns that at this exact moment, prospects are absolutely not ready to buy.
Wait, really? Why not?
Because of human nature, whenever we are faced with a significant problem, our instinct is to shop around for the path of least resistance.
We look for the cheapest, easiest fix.
Exactly. This introduces the T in the formula, the step that almost every struggling coach skips entirely. Tried.
The tried step is all about exhausting alternatives. A prospect is never a blank slate.
By the time they are talking to a professional coach, they are already deep into a journey.
They've been frantically Googling solutions late at night, reading self-help books, venting to their friends.
Maybe even lurking on Reddit forums trying to find a quick fix.
If you present your expensive coaching offer, while the prospect still secretly believes a $20 book or a free YouTube series might solve their problem.
They will inevitably give you the classic defense mechanism. This sounds great. Let me think about it.
What they are actually communicating is, let me go try these other cheaper options first.
Exactly.
Skipping the tried step is like offering a premium 5-course meal to someone who is still entirely convinced they want to check out the cheap, all-you-can-eat buffet across the street.
That's a perfect analogy.
You have to intercept that impulse. You have to ask them, what have you already tried to solve this? What worked? More importantly, what didn't work?
This is a brilliant psychological mechanism. By forcing the prospect to talk through their failed attempts out loud, they verbally eliminate their own alternatives.
They hear themselves say, I bought 3 books, I watched the webinars, I tried waking up at 5 a.m., and I am still just as miserable and stuck as I was a year ago.
But here is where the source text issues a massive warning that ties back to the traps we discussed earlier. It explicitly warns against offering free trial sessions at this stage.
But wait, let's look at that critically. Free samples work brilliantly in other industries.
They do.
They work at the grocery store to sell expensive cheese. Software companies use 14-day free trials to drive massive subscription numbers. Why is a free trial such a massive trap for coaching?
This raises an important question. Because there is a monumental difference between sampling a physical product and experiencing personal transformation.
Okay, how so?
A free sample at a grocery store requires zero commitment from the consumer. You taste the cheese, you experience the sensory input, and you walk away. The product does all the work.
Right.
But real coaching requires immense personal, emotional, and cognitive labor from the client. The client actually does the heavy lifting of the transformation.
So when you remove the financial investment by making the session free, you accidentally remove their emotional commitment to doing that hard work too.
Exactly. Free sessions attract people who are merely curious, not people who are committed to changing their lives.
Human beings only truly value what they invest in.
If they have no skin in the game, they will not do the work, they will not see results, and they will ultimately conclude that your coaching doesn't work.
By asking what they've tried, you let them permanently close the doors on cheap, low-effort solutions.
And only then, when they have felt the profound pain, calculated the undeniable financial cost of that pain, and verbally admitted that nothing else they've tried is working.
Only then do they look across the table at you and ask, okay, can you actually fix this for me?
which perfectly sets the stage for the final two elements of the framework. C for credibility and O for offer.
Let's focus on credibility, because the book highlights a very common misstep here called the credibility trap.
Oh, this happens all the time.
This happens when a coach gets on a discovery call and within the first 5 minutes starts just verbally vomiting their resume.
They list their credentials, the hundreds of hours they've logged, where they got their certification.
It is a fatal error in timing. So what does this all mean? Leading with your certifications before understanding their pain
Yeah.
is basically like giving someone the punchline before you've even told the joke.
It just falls completely flat.
It does. It's alienating.
Dr. Tan emphasizes timing. Credibility only holds weight after the pain, numbers, and tried steps.
Once the prospect realizes they have an expensive, painful problem and absolutely no other way to solve it, then they care about your qualifications.
But Dr. Tan emphasizes that true credibility isn't just reciting a resume. It's built on 3 pillars: showing similarity, showing results, and demonstrating a proven method.
Showing similarity means being able to say, I see exactly where you are, and I have helped people in your exact situation navigate this.
Right. But demonstrating a proven method is where Dr. Tan's specific background comes into play. The text mentions his Idena-3 profiling tools and DEEP coaching models.
These are proprietary frameworks that give the invisible transformation a tangible structure.
Idena-3, for instance, is a psychometric tool that maps out distinct personality and behavioral traits. By using a tool like this, a coach isn't just offering vague advice.
They are providing a literal, visible chart of the client's blind spots.
And models like DEEP provide a structured, mechanical path from discovering the root issue to executing a plan.
It takes the invisible and makes it visible. It reassures the prospect that the coach isn't just going to sit there and ask them how they feel for 6 months. There is an actual engineered path forward.
And once that trust is established, the bridge is built for the final step. O is for offer.
This is the moment where the entire conversation is either won or lost. Most coaching offers fail because the coach focuses entirely on the price tag rather than the value of the transformation.
Let's bring back the case study with Cindy and Alex to see how this works mechanically.
Okay, so Alex is making $85,000, but his indecision is stalling his career and costing him tens of thousands in future earnings.
And Cindy's coaching session costs $150. If Cindy simply reaches the end of the conversation and says, my rate is $150 a session, what happens?
Alex's brain instantly goes into cost comparison mode.
Right. His brain isolates the number. He starts thinking, $150, I could buy a week of groceries with that. I could pay a utility bill.
He is comparing the cost of coaching to everyday expenses.
But Cindy uses a technique Dr. Tan calls the value reframe model. She does not state her price in a vacuum.
She deliberately anchors the price of her offer against the numbers step they calculated earlier in the conversation.
She frames the offer around the cost of his inaction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She says to him, Alex, your indecision is actively stalling your $85,000 career trajectory. My session is $150.
And then she hits him with the math.
She says, you are essentially investing 0.002% of your annual income to permanently solve a problem that is impacting 100% of your career's future.
It is a masterful cognitive shift. Suddenly, $150 doesn't feel like an expensive hourly rate.
It feels like an incredibly minor, almost insignificant investment compared to the massive compounding cost of the problem itself.
The perceived price shrinks, and the perceived value becomes undeniable.
And the way the conversation ends is just as important. Because after that brilliant reframe, Cindy doesn't ruin it by asking a weak, open-ended question like, so do you want to sign up?
No, because asking, do you want to sign up, invites a yes or no answer. And human beings, when faced with spending money, will often default to no, simply to protect themselves from risk.
Instead, she asks a commitment question. Would you like to start this week or next?
It confidently assumes the sale, but it doesn't feel pushy or aggressive because it is the logical conclusion of everything that led up to it.
If we step back and synthesize this entire process, Dr. Tan maps this out in the visual section of the book as the emotions cognitive passage.
You are not just talking at a prospect. You are not delivering a monologue. You are seamlessly guiding their brain through a very specific sequence of psychological states.
You take them from feeling, which is exploring the deep pain, then you move them to thinking, logically calculating the numbers.
Then to eliminating alternatives, the tried step, then to trusting you as the guide establishing credibility, and finally to deciding framing the offer.
Feeling, thinking, eliminating, trusting, deciding. It functions like a combination lock.
If you skip a step or do them out of order, the lock won't open. If you present your offer before they deeply feel the pain, you are just an expensive luxury.
If you pitch your credibility before they've eliminated their cheap alternatives, they will just take your advice and go try to cheap options anyway.
It truly is a masterclass in the psychology of decision-making. Dr. Tan has fundamentally proven that conversion is not about being a slick, high-pressure salesperson.
It is about being a leader. You are literally leading the prospect out of the way of their own self-sabotage.
And that shift in identity from salesperson to leader is what allows coaches to finally build sustainable businesses.
It allows the invisible transformation they provide to become a reality, both for the client's life and for the coach's livelihood.
That is the ultimate takeaway from the well-paid coach. By mastering this framework, coaches can stop being brilliant but broke.
They can become genuinely well-paid professionals, which ultimately gives them the resources, the reach, and the peace of mind to go out and facilitate even more transformations in the world.
It's a structure that honors both the value of the coach and the vulnerability of the client.
It's incredible. And it leaves me with one final thought, something for you, the listener, to mull over as you go about your day.
What's that?
Well, in the source materials, Dr. Tan describes this exact PNTCO sequence as a trust timing curve. He suggests it perfectly maps human decision-making across the board.
Oh, wow. It is essentially the universal code for committing to any kind of invisible transformation or major change.
Exactly. It is a sequence of cognitive steps that we are all subject to, whether we are conscious of it or not.
That makes a lot of sense.
So think about your own life and the major decisions you make. From the expensive software subscriptions you finally decided to pay for, to the career leaps you've made, or even the personal relationships you have chosen to fully commit to.
Are you following the PNTCO formula without even knowing it?
Did you reach a point where you felt the pain, calculated the undeniable cost of staying stuck, exhausted all your easy alternative, found a credible reason to trust the leap, and finally accepted the offer to change your life?
Once you understand the underlying structure of how we choose to change,
The mechanics of every decision you make suddenly become brilliantly visible.